Now we're going to propagate some aloe plants, and I'm going to teach you two different ways to do this. It depends on what your aloe plant looks like for how you can divide it. So this one you can see has a whole bunch of little babies in one pot, and so this one we can kind of just take apart each of these little babies off of the mother plant, and they can each be their own individual plant, and that's really instant gratification because you're just starting with a whole new plant then. Something like this though, on the other hand, it doesn't have any of those offsets, but if we're careful we can propagate each of these individual leaves, and this might be important if you only have one plant and you want a whole bunch of plants and it doesn't have any of these offset babies. So I'm going to show you how to do this both ways. Let's start with the one that has a whole bunch of babies. So we're going to pull this out of the pot, and you can see we've got nice big healthy roots that are coming out in there, and we're just going to kind of tease that apart a little bit and remove some of the soil so that we can kind of see the structure. Oh, and look at that. Even as I'm just kind of pulling the soil apart, these pups really want to come off. So they're not really that well connected to the mother plant already. So now I've got 1, 2, oh look at that, this offset has an offset. Isn't that funny? And then we've got 3, 4, 5, and 6. I've got 6 new plants just out of this one plant just by taking that apart. And each of these can be potted into their own containers, and then they can grow to whatever size you want them to be until they get too large, and then you can divide them again that way. But if you only have one plant, it's a little bit trickier for how you're going to propagate these. We'll also take this one out of its pot so you can get a good look at the structure. And I'm going to take away the soil, but I'm going to try to not disturb the roots too much. And I'm going to just try to run my thumb around underneath where these leaves are coming out. Okay. And then these grow in a spiral pattern. So you're going to look for the one, just like on a celery, you're going to look for the one that's on the bottom. And it looks like the one that I have on the bottom is this here. Oh, there's a weed. Look out! There's weeds everywhere. So to propagate this, I'm going to take this leaf and I'm going to just kind of, well, you're trying to peel it off to the side so that you end up with this really thin, papery layer at the bottom. And that's going to be kind of important because the leaves of the aloe are super succulent-y, so they're full of water, and you want this plant to root before it rots. So if you already have this kind of hardened off zone where it connected to the main plant, you don't have to wait as long to be able to dip this into rooting hormone or to just plant it directly. And each one of these pieces can be used to propagate the plant. Again, you kind of, let's hold it like that so you can see it. You kind of peel off to the side like that. If you kind of tear and pull out at the same time, then you'll end up with a really nice peel like this. And then you'll want to set that aside for about a day or two. Let's see, can you see the yellow goozy stuff that's coming out of the top right there? The camera wants to focus behind me. So the yellow goozy stuff that's coming out of there is the wound response of the plant. And you want to make sure that that kind of heals over, kind of like a scab, before you do the next stage of your propagation. But fortunately for you guys, I already did that. So